carry on that monstrous performance?
Well, W7M we saw beat Team 1 here on Coastline on Thursday. It was all the way to 12 rounds, 7-5 to W7M. So they've had a positive performance so far. They did struggle on hooker and billiards defensively. That's probably the site that Furia need to be looking towards, if anywhere here. They were unbeaten Penthouse Theatre and unbeaten Kitchen Service. So really, they need to be looking towards hooker and billiards to get themselves on the board and to really start fighting into this one now. Bans coming down. Thatcher and Lion are going to be taken away. Furia taking Lion. So you've got to wonder if there's maybe a little bit of a target element going on there.
Potentially so. That is a bit more of a curious one to throw into the mix. There must be a reason behind that. That makes a little bit more sense, though, of course. Standard Valkyrie ban, get rid of her. We've seen just how powerful those cameras can be. So if you can snap her out of play, definitely do so. Final ban will be coming through now as well, and we'll see what's going to be thrown into the mix here. It's fairly consistently been Echo for a lot of our games so far throughout LATAM. Wouldn't be surprised to see potentially Malusi, and it will be this time. There we go. She has been banished.
Certainly has. Now, just looking back at I was just looking at that Lion ban and exactly why. We had Guy play Lion very consistently for W7M against Team 1. It was a reasonable factor in what went on, and he went 13-7 on the Lion. So that's your answer. That's, why we've got that Lion ban come in. Furia have obviously looked at that. As I said, this was the one VOD that they could really review for W7M to try and get a handle on exactly what they were going to be facing up against. So it is a very, very good choice for them, I'm sure, to take things away from Guy. But there's still questions to be answered. Is it because it was Lion on Coastline, or is it because it was Guy on Coastline? If it's just Guy on Coastline, you're still in big trouble.
Oh, yeah. Because that's the thing, right? You can take the operator out of the play and you can force him off it, but does it matter? If he can just fall back into it in a different role and still perform, he's still going to be able to hit his shots. He's still going to be able to back it up. He is normally a bit of a large character, and will he even need to? The man that I think you need to be more worried about, of course, is Herds. If his performance on Oregon is anything to go by, he is having a field day tonight. He's woken up on the right side of the bed. He's done his press-ups. He's had his lemon juice water. He is feeling it.
Coming into Penthouse Theatre for round 1 then, as I said, not too much of a surprise for W7M. We saw them defend it twice against Team 1, and we saw them defend it successfully twice against Team 1. 100% win record here so far in Stage 2, showing us a good mastery of this site. Now, it's an interesting site to attack on. It's one that we don't see too often, so to give you a rough idea of what you're going to see, we've been seeing the extension out into VIP a little bit more of a common feature. Panico does that very, very well. He's on the Rook this time around. We saw him on the Kaid, if you remember, last time out, Jackie, in there, just electrifying that wall onto 90 corridor to help him just stay in there a little bit more sort of wedged in and solid. But if Furia have been reviewing that VOD, they have to have picked up on this, because it was a very key characteristic of the defense of Penthouse and Theatre, was that extension into VIP. So they'll know that they need to deal with that. Now, they've brought the Sledge and not the Book. Little bit of a surprise to me. Sledge has the nades, completely concede that point. But if you could get the Book in underneath, in and around Kitchen, open up the floor, it is one easy way of dealing with Panico and forcing him away without having to take a direct horizontal challenge onto him. When he's got an ACOG in hand, he has a lot of advantages in that situation. So need to be very careful about how they do that. And one approach is to open Theatre Wall. You don't necessarily have to go near VIP. Get control over the luggage area, top of the main staircase, open up Theatre Wall and try to push in from that side. We saw that attempted by Team 1, but the big mistake Team 1 made, for my money, in my opinion, is they didn't have a man repelled on double window. You need somebody on double window, open Theatre Wall, and there is nowhere to hide in that site at that point.
That's an unlucky early encounter as well for Panico here on the Rook. Obviously, he'd been waiting, biding his time. He'd been so heavily focused on that angle for so long. The second he sees a bit of skin, he can't actually hit the shots. Gives the game away ever so slightly. They'll then send in the drone to do a bit of reconnaissance and get the exact info of where he is playing. Hasn't been much else, though, just yet. Just slow and steady stuff. Map control being established bit by Furia. W7M effectively just turtling and playing for the late round execution. We do see Lender attempting to time it here with the nade to do a little bit of damage and blow open a hole, but it's not going to work out too well for him just yet. First frag will come in instead, back over on Panico. He gets the shot off. It does eventually work out for him, still in the same angle, ready for the fight to go down as he sits by the sofa that is not in a good angle to watch TV.
Again, I've got to say it. Bringing the sledge, I'm not too sure about. As we saw, Lender underneath there having to use those nades to open up the ceiling. He could have simply used the skeleton key to do the exact same job. What they're trying to do is get the bandit batteries, or the Kaid electrical in this case, sorry, off that theatre wall so that they can get the hard breach on there. But without the ability to open up that floor easily, it's been difficult for them to do. And that sort of dithering, that delay has allowed Panico to use that extra long angle. Great shot from Fred onto Panico there, but it's completely impactless as Guy steps out, gets the trade and finishes off the round. So a good opening defense from W7M, just continuing that 100% win rate that they've had here on Penthouse and Theatre. And for me, Furia, you've seen the VODs, you know what you're coming up against, and I just don't feel they were necessarily prepared for that. As I say, I understand Sledge has nades and it is important utility, but what did those nades end up getting used for? Exactly what Buck could have done with his primary gadget of the skeleton key. So for me, if you're not going to use those nades aggressively, you've wasted an opportunity to have an operator that could do what you need to do much more quickly and much more successfully. They didn't manage to get the electrical off. I will assume that that is because they didn't get enough of an angle opened up by the nade on the ceiling. Not a problem with the skeleton key. You just absolutely wipe out the entire floor there. You will get the angle that you need. And you can use it against Panico as well, who did the damage across the courtyard with the long angle and the big magnification of that scope.
No, that is rough. Like, it did feel like the execution just wasn't there. It didn't work out in the way they wanted it to. Just wasted time, wasted utility, really. And then when push came to shove, at that point, again, they're going in as a weakened unit and they get picked to pieces. So that's the way the first round is going to go. Of course, as you would have noticed, we did have a couple of players dropped out, so we do need to get that lobby remade. First proper rehost of the day, really, Tim. At least it's been starved off till game 2.
Yeah, we've had a couple of drops, but they've always managed to get themselves back in so far. I think Highs and Panico, it has been who've dropped out. But this time, we are not so lucky. We're going to have to remake that lobby. Hopefully, that might maybe solve part of the problem, and we might just have a little bit more consistently players sticking around for the rest of this one. But so far, so good for W7M. I'm sure they're going to follow this up with a kitchen site. If I had to guess, that's where they've won previously against Team 1 as well. To me, I think they should just completely avoid hooker and billiards, to be fair. 33% win rate. They only won 1 out of 3 against Team 1. Blue Bar and Sunrise is a very good site. Just take that instead.
It makes sense. You know, it does completely make sense. Something that I wonder, though, if will make sense to you, Tim, is a little rehost riddle that I've prepared for you, mate. I feel like it's about the right time in the show. You up for it?
Greg, here's a turning jacket. I've warmed up a little bit. I'm feeling confident.
Have you got the wrinkles on the brain? Is it sufficiently rinked?
Certainly is. I think we could add 1 or 2 more, though.
All right, well, let's see if you'll learn something new off the back of this one. Tim, what falls but never breaks? And what breaks but never falls?
Falls but never breaks, and breaks but never falls. See, initially I wanted to say water, but that doesn't really fit the second half.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I see where the fort train's gone.
It certainly falls but doesn't break, but it doesn't really break. There's no slowing it down, is there? See, that's what I'm sort of thinking here, is that we've got the difference between breaking as in damaging, as in breaking, as in, and breaking as in slowing down. So that's where I'm feeling that. It falls but doesn't... I think you've got me with that one, Jackie. I think you've got me with that one. You think you've been stumped?
Well, if anyone knows in chat, of course, you can let us know. Hit us up on Twitter with a hashtag #RehostRiddles and at Ace of Pirate and at Jackie Esports. Send in your tweets for that one. But Tim, Unfortunately, mate, you have got it wrong. It's not water. That wasn't the answer I was looking for. I'll give you one last chance before it looks like we get back into the lobby. Falls but never breaks, and breaks but never falls. Ringing any bells? Giving you any ideas?
It's not. Leave it with me. Let's leave that one ticking over. We'll give the chat a good chance to get on Twitter and to get their answers in the Twitch chat as well. Hit us with the hashtag. We'll see if we get any correct answers, Jackie. And I'll keep the old hat rag ticking over on that one.
See, you never know. It might take a little bit for your old bray gears, your
brain gears, the old
bray gears to warm up. But once they do, I'm sure you'll be able to give me a solid answer. We'll come back and we'll reveal that one at the end of the series. For now, though, what I can reveal is the fact that all 10 players are back in the lobby, and of course, we can carry on. If you missed it, we had a bit of a rehost. Don't worry too much about it. It was only off the back of the opening round. W7M did pick it up, and they were also the side that had a bit of a dropout as well. So moving forward, hopefully things are going to be stable, as we do have our picks coming back in, and we will carry on. Furia, they're on the attack. Didn't really work out too well from that initial round. They had a bit of time to work with, but they just couldn't get anything going.
A little bit surprised by the site choice, Jackie. I've already spoken about it just before the rehost, as we were heading into the rehost. I didn't expect to see a hooker site here. Now, it's not to say that W7M are in the wrong. You know, they may well be confident that the strategy is good and they can get this one done. But just going on what we saw against Team 1, which, to be fair, is, limited statistics at this point. It's only one play out on courseline, and it is against a very good Team 1 side. So if anybody's going to pick you apart, it would be somebody like that. But more successful in kitchen and service, and they didn't play blue bar, so there's no information about what they are going to do in blue bar. So given that they had a low win percentage here in hooker and billiards, I'd have thought we might see one of the other two. Let's see how it goes. If they come in and they can get the second round on the board here, it's big, because then they are going into sites that they can be a bit more confident on, perhaps. But if they don't, then the questions need to be asked about that choice.
They do indeed. And we'll see if there is going to be some large question marks, or if Furia can convert those across to a more fitting exclamation mark and show us that they mean business. The only man that is given a business right now, though, is the Jaeger of Gui, as he just goes for a ridiculous run out, picks up the opening frag, and look who it's on. The Ash of Novice. That is a rough kill to suffer opening up your second round of the game. Not only does it knock out your entry fragger, but it's the operator that he's on as well. You've lost a lot of speed with that, and it came in really quickly, Tim. That's a scary prospect to start us off.
As you say, Novice really struggling a little bit so far today, not having too much joy at all. He's been there to middling, but certainly not reaching the highs that he managed to last time around on Thursday. Now, the peak comes in. Once again, Lender just knows that the man is there. He keeps having a look back, but then gets hurt. Herds, however, not as sharp as he was on Oregon. The call-out goes in, and it allows Highs to move back across and get that challenge from Aqua Balcony straight through into luggage. So good teamwork, good comms coming in from Furia there. Obviously, a clean, crisp call-out. Got to be careful challenging onto those deployable shields. They've got the little windows in them now, and the man behind it, Freezow on the smoke, he can see exactly what's going on at that hooker door, and he just pops up like a jack-in-the-box, a deadly jack-in-the-box Jackie, and manages to put shots forward. Doesn't get his man. Very nearly does, though. Guy here will be picked up. He's not really lost too much. I think he was on about 25, 30 HP after that run out anyway, so he's only lost about 5 or 6 in that battle.
Ooh, tell you what is being lost, though. Potentially the round for Furia, but they bite back. And it seems like they've actually got a little bit of fight left in them. The one thing they don't have is a Nomad. Oh, no. So low there. Lucky to get out of that Sanguine Arsenic just in the nick of time before our lungs would have collapsed into some dust. We've got 4 players alive and kicking here with 40 seconds to work with. Guy pushing back up. Bullets are going to raise round into freeze out to slow down the smoke, but there goes another can. That'll finish off Fred. Highs. He can't afford to push in at this point. A single tap will kill him. He's got to hold. He's got to try and bide his time to pick up the diffuser and hope he can fully commit to a plant. The likelihood of that happening is so slim, but he does show there is a chance for an upset here. Clean shot onto Freezow. 1 versus 1, but doesn't spot him. Prone, down to the ground. The body hurt at the end as well, as he'll spam into the face, walking away with another round for W7M.
So close there, as you say, really low HP for Fred on the Nomad, but managed to get in and get that first one, and you just thought he's going to do this here. But no, the man went prone, switched up his angle. Simple move, simple thing to do, but can be so effective in Siege. These players are so used to aiming head height, whether, if they're going in against somebody they think is stood up, crouch, prone, they know exactly where those different heights are. But by switching it up mid-fight and just making yourself unpredictable, quite often those crosshairs then will be in the wrong starting position, and it just gives you that half a second that you need to get in and win that gunfight. So good round from W7M. They've managed to show us there that they can win on hooker and billiards without taking those losses to begin with, as they did against Team 1. Certainly making easier work of it this time, and it all came from the beginning, really, with Guy getting that early opener onto Novice, just getting out there, taking the fight to Furia at this point. W7M, they look very, very confident right now, Jackie, and that is a scary prospect for Furia because they are getting shut down left, right, and centre.
It's so rough, especially in a clutch position like that, because that's not even another round where you are going to attribute to the opening moments. That's a late round loss where it's just fallen apart in the clutch. For me as well, it comes down to the smoke play. If you can keep on to that utility until that last 10-second mark, you are landed. You are living your movie. Having all three of those smoke cans in the back pocket alongside the change and your bus tickets, that's wild. That should have been forced out hours ago into the round. You shouldn't be allowed to keep on to them for that long. And that goes to show that Furia's style of play, Tim, although they are waiting for the last opportunity to execute onto a site, they're not forcing out utility. They're not causing commotion to drown you out so that by the time they do execute, W7M are at least at a disadvantage when it comes to gadgets and utility. They still have all of that to play with, and that's not a good prospect. That if anything, makes it harder for a team like Furia to play the playstyle they're utilizing.
It does, because they want to get in and play the objective. And as you say, when that utility is there, generally it is positioned by the defenders in order to make particularly site control, site access, and getting a diffuser down as difficult as possible. So without clearing that out, it is going to make their game style more and more difficult. If you're a team that just goes in and guns everybody, great start from highs there. Just nice patience. I think he was aware that Padrin was obviously playing in and around that location. He was just waiting for it. He put in that new hollow site to great use there and shutting the man down. So Padrin Jaeger is off the board. 5 versus 4. Good start for Furia. Good. It's the first time that we've seen them get the entry so far on coastline. The question now is, what can they do with it?
Hopefully get a round off the back of it. That is the dream outcome for them, but will this one turn into a bit of a nightmare? Can W7M incept their dreams and somehow control this one to their will? We got 1 minute and 25 seconds to play with. Mozzie hoping to do something damaging, then it will be the choice of detonating the nitro up the drop top through the hatch, but it's not going to slay anyone. Novice has his rotation point completely cut off as well if he heads up the stairway. You can rotate through security if he wants and back off, but if he doesn't make a decision quick, there's always the potential of the flank to come out from the Ash. We have fallen into a little bit of a lull across the map so far. With 60 seconds left, Furia, you need to speed things up slightly. They've still got time, but they have to make a move. They need to get into a site. The map control they do have isn't going to help them much in the late round. But here's the push from Novice. He bides his time well. Good bait play. Pushes down. Slays herds. You've now got yourself a 5 versus 3.
As you say, if you're getting top floor control reasonably quickly there, but then failing to sort of move on, stalled a little bit, and now find themselves with 30 seconds left to go. It's going to be a tough collapse onto site. They've got a man still lodged in service, and they get hit on the flank as well. Somehow Guy manages to escape from the man in billiards, but ultimately will be shut down. Leaves one dying on the ground though. Freezow it will be to shut down highs, and there is another potential flank coming along. 2 versus 4. Freezow could be big here. 13 seconds left to go, and this is not going to be easy for Furia. They're going to have to push hard here now. The diffuser is going down in kitchen, just inside that window, and I'm not sure what Panico is doing here. It's a big play, but the man is shut down just after the diffuser is successfully enabled. And as they try to collapse back to site, the likelihood is that they are going to lose these, because spotted out, that challenge was always going to be difficult. The man goes prone, finishes him off. Novice it will be with the final kill onto Panico, and Furia, they finally managed to play that objective that they are so desperate to do. Get the diffuser down inside the window and shut out a round, putting themselves themselves on the board after 3. And that is potentially the start of a little bit of shifting tides here.
It's at least a round. Like, it still could have gone wrong. There was still a chance. It came down to a close clutch, but they clean it up. This time, they were prepared, mop and bucket, to brush their way through and take a dirty round into a clean opener in the back pockets. That's now a 1-2 split on the scoreline. Is it maintainable, though? A nicer change to see. It seemed like it was going to be a 6-pick onto the Buck, but instead, it's a move from the IQ to the Iana. Gemini drone, little bit of usability to it. It can always be quite cheeky if you want to at least bait for info, or if you're going to use it into the late round. So I can see where it carries over for highs. We'll find out if it will actually assist them over the course of the round. The main prospect for me, though, Tim, is again looking over to players like Gui, because he was just going crazy, right? When he's been going for these runouts, he's been going for early contact. He's willing to essentially put his whole life on the line to secure an opening frag. And he's done it quite well. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's just going to switch up his position, but still run the risk once again here in round 4.
Big problem to be solved here on Penthouse Theatre, as I mentioned last time around, and as was influential, is Panico in VIP. It should be step 1 for Furia. He should be public enemy number 1. They should be going in, ensuring that the first kill on the board is Panico, and then let's see how this W7M defense copes from there. Put a man on double window, make it difficult for them to move inside, take the control of top floor, open up theatre wall, and I can only see the round going in one direction if that happens, because there would not be a corner for them to hide in sight. It would be insanely uncomfortable in there, but it's just whether Furia recognise that and get in and do anything about Panico. I'm glad to see that Novice straight away has a hole in the floor and he's trying to shoot up at that corner where Panico is. He's making the man sweat. He is letting that Rook know that he is not going to have a comfortable round this time around. He's not going to be allowed to just sit in that corner and just hold angles across the map and to make their lives difficult. Now, let's get in and let's get the kill. That should be step 1.
Minute and 50 seconds here, still ticking by on round 4. It has slowed down. We had a couple of moments of contact, obviously a few instances of the heat being turned up, making this lovely looking hotel destination appear more like one giant sauna, because they certainly turned up the heat, but that's died off a bit. It started to taper down and leave us back into this position. Still 5v5. Contact is found though, and Lender, he comes out on top. Here we go. Sledge, looking more like a human hammer as he tries to crack his way through another skull, getting another player down and finishing him off onto Padrin as he will find the shot. The rebuttal from Panico though, and it's not 1, it's 2, as he's punishing the other side. Keeps on going as well. Fred the Bread, more like Fred the Dead, as it just leaves it in the hands of Bursa and Highs. A 2 versus 2 clutch situation with the diffuser being down. Hertz, you had a massive game on Oregon. Relive some of those majestic moments here and now. He needs to get a kill to assist his teammate. Panico jumping on to disable the diffuser. Comes off it a little bit timid. Worried about the potential peak, but instead it's the drop down. Bursa breaks through with his breakdancing moves. Drop top. Oh, Tim, that is disgusting from Ace.
Fantastic finish from Bursa there. Just dropped down and the stars as well as operators aligned for him, and he was able to just gun 1, gun 2, and good night. End of round, and Furia get themselves back level here. But how about it, Jackie? Teams are going to have to find an answer to Panico in VIP. I know that Furia have won the round there, but 3 kills on the round, I think it was, for Panico, and he very, very nearly snatched that one away from them again. He is an absolute menace in there in VIP, and as I say, somebody is going to have to come up with a method of realistically dealing with him, because it is a problem on that site. Now, we're going to be heading to Hooker and Billiards this time around. They are going to opt not to go back to Penthouse, and I like what Furia did. They are playing to their strengths, and their strengths is getting in and getting the diffuser down. They've done a great job of it so far. Bursa is a man who knows exactly how to hold F regardless of the pressure and to get that diffuser down and active. He did the job once again. Now, it is a reasonable approach given Panico's position. He can't really challenge onto that position from VIP, or certainly not when he was in gunfights as well. That's basically what Furia did. They just fed people to the Lions, sending them in after Panico saw that he couldn't challenge onto Bursa whilst that plant went down, and because he was too busy fighting for his life, Bursa took the opportunity, got it, and then a heads-up play, getting himself back up onto the roof, onto the hatch, where he was able to drop and close things out. So well played Bursa, well played Furia, but there is still a more solid answer required for W7M. You can't always put your head into a lion's jaws and come away with it intact.
No, you have to be an incredibly proficient lion tamer that has built up years of rapport with that lion. It's not going to happen with any old lion, because at that point, you know, that's it. Your head's gone, the lion's gone, it's all gone wrong. The zoo's getting shut down. It is not a pretty sight. But at least this game has had some very pretty clutches, Tim. Surprising stuff, right? Because we always talk about the idea of sustainability in rounds like that. Whereas Panico, how many times is he sustainably going to find himself getting countless multi-kills? How many times are you going to have a drop-down, fragging out clutch of just sheer terror from a player like Bursa? That's not repeatable. That round essentially was a bit of a blip when we got into the clutch. So let's see if round 5 will have something a little bit more structured. We're just past the 2-minute mark. So far, the game is tied 2 rounds a pop. We have all 5 alive. We haven't had a single casualty just yet, but this is where things will surely start to change. Fred on the Zofia, pushing in, going on a bit of a rogue mission, but it's Herds that gets contact against Novice. Furia again losing out on the opening duel and leave themselves into a 4 versus 5 with 1 minute and 35 seconds to attempt to bounce back into the game.
Herds has been a little bit more quiet this time around, and it certainly seems to be hurting W7M. You can't always rely on your man to go for 20 kills in a game, but he certainly could just do with upping his level a little bit here. He's done plenty of work for the day on Oregon, don't get me wrong. You know, he is well entitled to put his feet up a little bit, but the lack of frags coming out of him so far just seem to be hurting his team a little bit, especially those entries that he was getting last time around. But he does start off round number 5 in a positive way, and Furia here, they are taking a lot of time. Toxic Babe comes in and will hit the man right in the face, but they completely miss. Highs walking through sight, he will get himself 2. Joins the party.
Oh.
Herds gets another 2v2. This is an absolute bloodbath at the minute. It's a brawl. These two are just swinging on each other right now. Guy gets a kill onto Lender. 2 versus 1 W7M. That's going to come down to 1 versus 1. Can it be the man? Bursa comes in once again. Bursa the Brute gets himself 1. Can he finish it with a second? He's getting pinged out. He will pick up the diffuser. He knows exactly what to do with that little briefcase, but the question is he going to get time? Is he going to get the space in order to do it? Herds has gone downstairs to try and make the challenge. He does not have a nitro in hand. He has to rely on the shots. The beams are not his enemy this time, and he gets the kill onto Bursa. Great heads up play from the Mozzie downstairs and finishes the man vertically. Completely risk-free. Beautiful play.
He had his hearing aids in and he was ready to bring another round into the bank. Perfectly executed up through the floorboards. Oh, they are going to be frustrated off the back of that one, Tim. A 3rd round acquired, and it does seem like it's also time for another rehost. We had players dropping out, so don't worry. We'll get that resolved, and we'll come back in to continue this enthralling matchup between W7M and Furia. But that last round, Tim, I mean, the past 2 last rounds, really, wild. The shenanigans, the clutch play, the jaw-dropping executions that have clutched it. This is real Siege we're seeing tonight.
It really is. It's just getting more and more exciting. I'm getting closer and closer to the edge of my seat now. It's just it's an absolute belter. We knew this is what we were going to see. It's a shame that we didn't get it out of Oregon, but we had a different kind of excitement there. W7M came out just absolutely clinical. It was a joy to watch, but this time around, these two are really swinging on each other. That round was absolutely madness there. You've got one man just creeping in through sight, gets himself a double in corridor, but then it just gets completely swung on its head. Finishes in a 1v1. Bursa's getting the diffuser down. Heads up play from the Mozzie. Goes downstairs. He's only got 1 or 2 HP. He doesn't want to be taking a head-to-head gunfight. Just waits for that diffuser to start going down in default spot. Whether he knew he was against Bursa or not, I don't know. Because to me, that factors into it. If you're thinking, I'm up against the planter here, and planter's plant, that's what he's going to go for, then that's exactly what you've got to be looking for. If you're up again maybe Lender, who you know is coming in as a fragger, you're thinking, I might get challenged here, and you've got to play it differently. But great plays from the Mozzie.
No, really, really smart stuff. You can see as well, it just comes down to reading the audio cues. Brilliant use of the audio there. Basically tracked him the whole way over, listening out, had his ears on him. Super solid stuff. Tracks him down, bides his time, fires out the shots, and picks up the frag. That was some really, really sick stuff, Tim. And I'm glad we got to catch a clutch in that manner. Just a tasty one. We've had all different styles of Siege tonight.
We're getting ruined already, and we've still got 2 matchups to go. It is if your friends aren't in here, if your family's not in here, if your grand's not in here, get on the text, tell them to watch some Siege, because we have got some absolutely banging Saturday night entertainment to come for them.
Oh, we do indeed, and we've got something else as well. If you are going to get your gran and all the fam in, I'm sure they're going to be like, well, look, I do love esports, but I'm also a really big fan of riddles. I'd normally watch Challenge, so we've also prepared one of those for you, Tim. I did ask you before the rehost, of course, what falls but never breaks, and what breaks but never falls. You didn't have an answer for me. Would you like to know what it is?
I think I, along with many others, would like to know what it is, Jackie. We left it stewing in the brains, in the grey gears of our wonderful chat, letting them have a think about it. And obviously, we don't get a chance to check Twitter, but we will know later on if you've tweeted us the right answer. We'll give you mentally all the kudos that you deserve. So let's hit them with it, Jackie.
It's night and day, Tim. Night and day.
There we go. So we've got a little dual answer, you see. That's what you've done to... Right, okay, that one's in the brain box now. I'll be thinking that, that's acceptable from now on.
There you go. I'm expanding your mental horizons. So if you're ever at a pub quiz or just a quiz in general, you'll have some different avenues. If for some reason you've walked in and said that your special subject is riddle rounds.
I'll be honest, I've been to quite a few quizzes in my time, Jackie. I have never yet found a riddle round at one, but maybe that's what's missing from quizzes.
See, there you go. Think about it. It'd be a much more enthralling environment if they threw riddles into the mix. It'd be like that scene in Labyrinth for both of the doors.
What, where to leave the quiz, you have to answer the riddle?
Yeah,
be there all night.
You try and get out, the bouncer's just going, sorry, mate. Hang on a minute. I said what falls and what breaks. They're going, please, mate, I need to go home. It's late.
3 a.m. Go and buy yourself another drink, son.
Sit down and enjoy the game, son. We're going back in. We are going back in. We'll carry on with some more coastline conundrums. We'll leave the riddles for one side, but I'm sure the gameplay will be just as puzzling. It has been hard to keep on top of a lot of these clutch rounds that have been coming out. This has not been standard Siege whatsoever. We've had runouts, we've had clutches, we've had all sorts of crazy plays. And we'll see if it keeps up to that manner. If you're joining us, the scoreline as it stands now, off the back of the rehost, is a 3-2 split. The defenders, of course, W7M, currently leading by 1 round. This is the last round of the opening half, and this is where Furia can either close the gap and make it a 3-3 split, or if they drop this round, they'll be going through 2-4 with quite a big disadvantage coming up onto their defense.
Now I'm recognising one of the few Portuguese words that we've learnt along the way, Jackie, cozinha. So we will be heading to kitchen. That is going to be the site for round number 6 and the final defence of W7M. I think if they can get into the half 4-2 here, they're going to be relatively happy with that, because Furia have certainly brought the Thunder along to coastline, and they are putting in an absolutely cracking performance so far. Now, saying bringing the Thunder to coastline, it reminds me of a fantastic thunderstorm that I once saw when I was out in Barcelona, Jackie. I don't know if you've ever experienced an electrical storm in Spain, but a very different experience to what we get here in the UK. We're lucky for like 1 or 2 bolts of lightning over half an hour. But this was like every 30 seconds getting some real fork lightning going on over the city of Barcelona. It was beautiful. Yeah, it was a real experience. Sat on a rooftop bar, enjoying a little tipple with the missus and just watching the electrical storm. It's a life highlight for me, Jackie, to be honest.
Oh, mate, honestly, that sounds like the sort of thing you would print off. You'd put that on the fridge for everyone to see.
Absolute beauty it was, no question. Yeah, it was a cracking little evening.
Right. I mean, I've personally not experienced that myself, but those feelings, the words used to describe that, it resonates with me. And it really reminds me a lot of my time spent with you, Tim. It's electrifying. It's got some fork lightning in there. There's definitely some moments of grace and beauty. And I would quite describe you as a bit of a tipple, especially for how much I enjoy spending my time with you. And luckily, I've still got a couple more rounds to go because we're going back into it. Round 6, Tim. We've got 2 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock on this one. It is a 3-2 split. And let's see where the opening frags are going to come from. Panico, he could have a bit of a predicament here. Trapped behind the shield as the push is going to be coming up. Concussion's going out, but he's not going to be concussed. He sticks to his guns, but he won't have a headache because he doesn't have a head, Tim.
Dealt with the utility very, very well there. A position that it can be tough to move. Can the Wamai just inside of service entrance. Deployable shield, ADSs, magnet systems out. Very, very difficult, but dealt with professionally by Furia. The Monty of Bursa just supporting the push. Herds with a second on the round, though. He's starting to find his feet and go big. He will get the kill onto Novice. He's looking to get onto the backstab of the Monty here. He's thinking about that jump out, and he's just going to bide his time. Now, we will see whether there has been any utility deployed to deal with that, but I'm not too sure that it is going to have been available. Now the Echo will be working against the Monty. Here comes the Shotty against the Shield. Which will be the winner? We've got a little ring around the roses. He gets challenged hard, and High shuts down Freeze out. That is site control for Furia now. This is going to be a retake for W7M. No choice but for Herds to jump out, but it's a little too late because the Furia team are established in service, and they will start to find kills from their left, right, centre, up and down. It doesn't matter to them, all the same as they hit shots in every single direction and find themselves now in a 3 versus 1. Guy is the last man alive for W7M. Bursa gets that diffuser down. Guy, he's got a job on his hands. He's about to be shut down. Highs finds his shots. And that is going to be round to Furia. 3-0 on the split, and we have got a game on here on Coastline.
It's all tied up at the half. It doesn't matter if you're winning clutches. You've got to win sustainable rounds. You've got to keep on building, and that's not what either one of the sides did. They leave it at a stalemate. 3-3. It's spicing up. It's getting quite hot in here, and I don't just mean the temperature in my room, Tim. I mean the fact that the quality of siege we have is trailblazing tonight. And let's see if that'll carry on, because here's the interesting part for me as well. Personally, I think Furia on their defense, they play better siege. I think they're a much better squad when they're allowed to hold angles, when they're allowed to wait for the oncoming onslaught. When you've got Fred in a rotation role where he can be a bit of a roamer, he can be a nuisance maker, you got to watch your back. If you don't know where Fred is, look behind you, because that man is sneaky, Tim. And this is where hopefully he'll start to step up. I'd also like to see more coming out from the likes of both Lender and Novice as well. Their performance back on play day 1 tantalized me and left me enamored with both of these players. I want to see more from them. If they step up now, you've got 3 very high octane impact fraggers on the roster of Furia that can ride them through to victory here on their defense. But honestly, it all comes down to this opening round. Round 7 is going to tell a big part of the story of the way the second half is going to go.
It's really important because if Furia get this, they've then got 2 rounds in a row and they start to build some momentum for the first time really here on Coastline. And as you say, with that switch in the half, it could be a big part of the mental game as well. They've won the last attacking round. They come in and win the first defensive round, start thinking, right, that's it. The ball is rolling now. And a rolling stone gathers no moss. As you know, Jackie, if Furia can get themselves that speed and power behind them, they could be a real danger, as you say, with players like Lender and Novice getting few kills. Could be the build of confidence that they need, and then surely it will be like an avalanche from that point forward. That small stone will become a trickle, and it will just then pick up speed and absolutely decimate all in front of it. But there is still 2.5 minutes left to go to decide exactly what the fate of W7M will be here on the attack of Hooker.
You been rolling many stones down hills?
Very dangerous game, Jackie. You've got to be careful. You never know what you might trigger.
Well, I suppose it's also the fact, right, that, like, you know, even the smallest stone over a long period of time and with a lot of velocity could still probably take out, like, a car windshield or something. So be mindful of where you park. Don't park near hills.
I like that was the pickup there. That was the takeaway. Be mindful of where you park, not don't throw the stone.
Oh, no. You know, that action's always going to happen.
If it hits a car, that's that idiot's fault for parking in the wrong place.
Mate, that's the thing. You might have, you know, third-party fire and theft. You don't have stone insurance, do you?
I'd have to check my policy over very carefully, Jackie.
Oh, well, I'll start to inspect what's happened so far here into round 7. As we've had a fair bit of damage, basically some dry brushing occurring across the side of Furia. As Novice has taken damage, Highs and Lender are both low. Fred is now dead, and another man goes down. But finally, it's a frag towards the side of W7M. As I say that, they all start to come through. A 3k spray down, make that a 4k off the back of Highs as he bobs up. The Mac Daddy with a Mac 10, smacking off the lips of Gui and leaving it all down on Pedrin in a 1 versus 4 with 60 seconds to work with. Slowly skulks his way up towards the diffuser. He doesn't have long enough arms to grab it. Instead, he's just got to stick to his guns and hold the angle. A little bit paranoid about the peak coming around the back of the bomb. They have good use of the utility there to make it awkward for him to hold his ground. Lender then swings on the Wamai and they clean it up with the Org. A beautiful round. They sustained a lot of damage, but all that did was fuel them towards the victory. And that is a critical round to win, Tim.
Certainly is. A nice mid-round cleanup from Furia there. Just 3 or 4 kills within a matter of seconds. Less seconds than they were kills, I think. And Furia just really catapulted themselves towards the win. 4-3 now. They find themselves ahead for the first time here on Coastline. And for anybody wondering in the chat, we are playing best of 2, and the way that the points could be impacted are thus. So the points are awarded across both maps. So it is not points for map 1 and points for map 2. It depends what the outcome of both are. So if you can get 2 wins, so if W7M were to win here on Coastline, they would of course win both maps overall, and it would be 3 points to them. Now, if you get a win and a draw, so if we find a draw here on Coastline, then it would be 2 points to W7M. Or if Furia win here, then it would be 1 point each to them and W7M, because a win and a loss or 2 draws will get you 1 point. So that is the variety of possibilities that we get here. Obviously from Furia's side, if they were to lose here, it would be 0 points. They won't get anything. So tough one for them at this point. They have to get a win if they want to find anything. The best they can hope for is 1 point overall on that table. But I'm sure that they would be happy to take that from W7M at this point. It's also worth noting, I pointed it out last week, I'll point it out again, we've had a fantastic addition to the screen in front of you by our wonderful production team up at the top there. For all those people, I've seen it in chat hundreds of times over the last couple of years. What was map 1? What was the score of map 1? Well, you just take a little peep up at the top of your screen. We've got the map, including who has selected which, and the score of the last map that's been finished as well.
All lovely little additions, but there's also been a subtraction into the round, and that is Herds being reduced to essentially just a corpse on the ground. The Ash is out of play, and now they have 4 men left alive for W7M. They are also finally at a position where they are trailing behind here against Furia as well. So if they can close the gap, bring it back to a 4-4, at least the game will be close. If they can't, Furia, they could really start to create some distance between these two teams and get ever closer towards that coveted 7th round to shut it down here. Talking to shutdowns, Lender with a Nitro. Doing something quite dastardly, but it's not going to work. Plucked out of the air there as they spot it. He also spots them pushing in through the doorway. Is he ready? Will he be able to pre-fire it and shut them down? Hits the first one to Zofia as she peeks. Not necessarily working too well on a 3-2-1 face. He didn't spot out the backstab, and it'll be the full frontal assault in the end anyways. Friezal re-peeks into him with the AK and makes him drop down to the DECK. 1 minute and 35 seconds on the clock. A bit of a lead for Furia to play with, Tim. Can they sustain this?
Furia need to back this up with another frag now. 4 versus 2. It will make it extremely difficult for W7M to get in and do anything. And interesting, we've just seen somebody go into the drone as well. It reminds me of the changes that we have had come along with Shadow Legacy here. We've had the little nice addition of the graphics to the little smartphone screen as the drones are pulled out. I think it's a tiny little thing, but it's very, very nice. So thank you to the dev team for that. And there's been other changes along the way. You will see some with our observing tool here. The spectator view has had a little revamp, and we've got some nice little additions there for you as well. So all sorts of nice little quality of life changes. We'll pick up on them as we go, and we'll point them out in case you're unaware, but we'll do that as we see them. Coming back into the last 45 seconds, we will focus on the round at hand here. 4 versus 3, W7M just stalling out since those couple of kills have rained in against them. They really don't know how to push here. Now, Blue Bar and Sunrise, they've got the diffuser over in office, so they would be looking to get that down behind the Blue Bar. They can see smoke utility raining out ahead of us. The nade will be taken down by an ADS, and we'd expect to potentially see a plant going down along with that smoke utility being deployed, but that will not be the case. Men get dropped left, right, and center. A double for highs inside of Sunrise. Leaves Freeze out, freezing out alone in the cold here. 1 versus 4, all to do. 8 seconds, and surely it was a matter of time. It will be Novice. If it wasn't him, it would have been somebody. Shooting the last man down. Freeze out, taken out. He's put in the cold for good. And that is going to be another round to Furia on the defense. And they are really starting to look hot here now, Jackie.
Furia were frustrated on Oregon, but on Coastline, they have taken a holiday to get over that previous holiday back on Oregon, and it has been a much better one. No more are they going to be sat sulking in their rooms. Instead, they are having a wonderful time. Bountiful frags being picked up there, living it large as well when it comes to the overall scoreline of the game now, as they are 2 rounds ahead, 1 round away from guaranteeing, at worst, a draw here on Coastline. 2 rounds away from getting themselves a win and splitting the series 1 map apiece. That is still relatively far away, though. They have to take it 1 round at a time, and they can't get ahead of themselves. W7M, in terms of changes coming back into it here on the 9th round, we do have a Thinker in play. Thinker, obviously, you know, we both had our thoughts on where she can be useful. There is one man that knows how to use her incredibly well, but I don't know if right now this will really give them much of a benefit coming back into round 9. I feel like there is bigger issues at hand, and a lot of that seems to come down to the fact that they can get tags out. They can soften up the entirety of Furia, but when push comes to shove, they're not getting those intro frags. They're not being able to pick off another player. It's just not working for them, Tim. They're leaving themselves in a position where they should be able to capitalize and at least get an opening kill, and then they don't. They walk into a crossfire, they drop 2 players, and before you know it, the round's over.
They seem to have got themselves into a little bit of a muddle, to be honest with you, Jackie. Looking at that last round, I'm just thinking back at what we saw. 3 versus 4, and we had 1 man on the opposite side of site, so we were watching the push into Sunrise. There were 2 men coming in there, 1 from single door, 1 from single window. But we could see the man on the far side of office, and I commented that the smoke utility had been deployed. We saw that. We saw the grey smoke in front of us around the blue bar door area, but there was no push coming from there. Now, whether they were just trying to take a bit of attention or what, I don't know, whilst they pushed in through pool entrance, possibly. But it was just completely ineffective, to be honest. And I'd have expected maybe when those smoke canisters are going down, you've got the man pushing in from office, thinking about getting a plant down, thinking about really mixing things up or getting a frag or 2. But he just got repelled and looked to move up to Aqua Balcony, I think. And I'm not really sure what the plan or the play was there. We had 2 then move into Sunrise, and Furia were only too happy to shut them down. So it just feels like W7M not quite as coordinated as we've seen them previously. And it's not too much of a surprise to see this in this matchup. Coming in, we build this as a really unpredictable game with 2 teams that had come out and shown us fantastic things on Thursday. So to see them now being so close and to look like Furia might actually dominate here on Coastline, you know, compared to what happened on Oregon, it really supports what we were saying and expecting out of this one.
I don't know what to expect here in round 9 either. I feel like this could really keep us guessing. W7M, I don't count them out. I think there is a large chance they could still get back into this, potentially take us into that 7-5 position to shut it down, but not if the game is going to go in this manner. Lender, he finds the first frag, dropping down the Nomad, leaving him in no man's land, and now you've got a good advantage to work with. There is at least a trade from the G360 of Herds on a bit of a cheeky angle, up on top of the elevated peak, finds the headshot onto Lender, but there's the trade back once again. Fred coming in strong, 4 versus 3 here. A lot of damage across onto Zofia as well. It's not looking good for W7M. They do have the diffuser, but I don't even know if they can actually brute force their way into Kitchen. They're so low into a couple of instances as well that a few stray bullets going out could shut them down. This nade, however, could completely take out of play a nuisance maker on the scene. Highs the smoke, nearly getting smoked, but he doesn't go broke. He backs off and stays alive for now, Tim. They've got 30 seconds. They need to speed this up. Sure, they're getting into fights, but they're not doing anything. They're not forcing them out of position, and when they do go for the execution, it's a simple couple of taps from Novice to shut down Freeze out. There's another man dropped to the ground, and Panico, he's going to be sweating bullets at this point. A 1 1 versus 3. No chance. Zip Nutter, he's finished off there by Bursa and Furia. 1 round away from splitting the series. 1 map apiece.
Very good from Furia once again, just making it difficult to clear themselves out. There's another little thing that I want to pick up on for W7M there. I'm just very conscious. I don't want to be overly critical of them. We've seen them play very well so far today. And these are small margins, and it's very easy for us to say in hindsight, sitting here watching it. But clearing out that shield, Jackie, in kitchen. They had smoke behind the shield, yeah? So Finker's watching it. He pings it out. Great example of the ping 2.0 system. Pings the shield, and we have the Zofia move across. Now, gets out the lifeline gadget and starts pumping those sort of grenades in there. I'm not sure if it was grenades or stuns that were being fired in, but 2 went in and cleared out ADSs. And that leaves Finker to throw the nade in to clear the shield out. The problem is that it was Panico on the Finker who had the angle onto the smoke. So what we saw was the nade clears the shield, but by the time he's gone through the animation of getting his weapon back out, the smoke is able to wriggle away and escape. So there is no kill on the back of it. Yes, it's cleared out a difficult location, but think about it this way. The only thing that you need to change there is the order of that utility. So Zofia fires 1 in. Finker throws the nade next, which gets caught by the second ADS charge. Zofia then fires in again and takes out the shield. And by that point, Finker is already back on the ADS and gets a free kill onto the smoke. It's just a completely different outcome. Now, I will completely say, yes, it may well be that Zofia didn't have explosive rounds left. So if that's the case, fair enough. There was no choice. You just had to use the concussion rounds to clear out the ADS. If there were explosive rounds going in, and while she might not know there's an ADS there, it just shows the small margins that can make so much of a difference here in Siege. Because at that point, you then I think it was 2 versus 3 if that happens, and it could be a different round.
Oh, 100%. And the fact that it was taken away from him in that manner leaves you scratching your head a little bit. It's unfortunate, but I mean, that was, one mistake in a cacophony of a few that really did leave them into that position in the first place. At least this time, they go back to their old tricks. They were always effective at getting the entry frag. That's what was their bread and butter play. That's what helped them so much throughout the entire course of Oregon. In this round of Coastline, when it matters most, they do get the opening pick. But that's a start in a position where you cannot afford to make any mistakes. They need 3 rounds back-to-back to take this to a 6-6 to draw at best this series now versus Furia here on Coastline. They get a follow-up as well, so this is brilliant. In the way that this has gone so far, they've actually really been able to do a number on them. Novice was looking to counter, glancing back over towards Ruins, hyper-focused in, but no one's going to be there. He won't spot anyone and won't get a free frag back in favour of Furia just yet. Instead, all of W7M have skedaddled. They've grouped up, going for more of a Wolfpack style of play. Nice little pixel peek. Novice finally gets an opportunity to strike. Oh, but it gets awkward, Tim. He might fire out the bullets, but it's not going to connect. Instead, he is now panicked, and he's got to sprint out of there. The sledge remains alive, but the same can't be said for Burster, who's had his head kicked in.
Much better from W7M so far. Seeing that clinical style from them once again. Freezo gets in and starts putting the diffuser down. Novice gets 1. It'll be absolutely impactless as Herds and Panico step up. They get the kills before the diffuser can be confirmed. And that's going to be round 4 W7M. Keeping themselves fighting in this 6-4. We find ourselves now the best that W7M can hope for in terms of the league table. In terms of the overall result here is 2 points now. Furia have guaranteed themselves a draw on map 2 of Coastline here. So it could be a win and a draw for W7M, which would be 2 points, or it could be a win and a loss, which would be 1 point each. Now, that's particularly important in this fixture because we spoke about this last stage, and I'm going to speak about it again now, and that is that as much as it's nice to come in and beat those top teams, get results against teams like Team One, Team Liquid, great stuff. The really important results can often come against the teams that you are going to be fighting for position with come the end of the season. And I would expect Furia W7M to potentially be fighting over the same sort of places come the end of this stage. So a win here for W7M could be really, really significant come the end of the season because it is directly denying points from somebody that they could be in head-to-head competition with.
That's why this matters so much. These last 2 rounds of the game, or potentially last 2 rounds, do affect not only today's play day, but the overarching storyline of the entire league. And we are very early into the competition as well. So the fact that this has a lot of weight to it is damn exciting. Because going on, results like this are only going to accumulate more and more impact. We are heading back into it though. The clock has started to tick down, and potentially the hourglass of W7M's livelihoods here in this game could be ticking away with it. That is, if Furia decide to switch things up and maybe they take the aggressive approach this time. They look to combat the aggressive early peaks that were found from W7M. It didn't really work last time around. Of course, they do end up conceding that one, but that's off the back of 2 entry frags being found for them with no response. If you're going to give those away, that's bound to happen. They tried to test against it. They look to try and take the fight towards him immediately, and it is Fred, the man that's normally known for making those plays work. But Fred, he has been overpowered. That big baguette has been cracked in 2 by Herds, coming in cleanly there on the Ash, and that's scary, Tim. If this is going to be one of those vintage Herds rounds that we got to saw in Oregon, I'm going to be terrified for how they'll have to fight back against this.
It was a nice, easy start of a 10 for him, wasn't it? Just hold the angle there. Fred just peeks around into it slowly, and it's always going to be an easy kill for Herds to pick up. Fred was gambling that the man was maybe in a drone or not quite in his ADS, but I tell you what, Herds is looking lively there. Uses the Ash soft breach to open up the ceiling above him and takes down Highs, who is absolutely none the wiser until he goes down. I think he was in the cams there on the smoke, and that is some important utility lost. Area denial and time wasting. Toxic Babe canisters remain in the pocket of the body of Highs now. 5 versus 3 once again, attacking onto Hooker, and could this be a big step towards that comeback, Jackie? Could W7M rescue those 2 points from the jaws of Furia, who were looking to shut Coastline out?
There's a huge chance of it with the way they're playing. They're getting more and more confidence over the course of this round. Bursa is so low as well. A single bullet will take him out of commission. Time ticking away. Finally, we see it happen as well. Herds, he comes in with another critical kill. In the meantime, the diffuser goes down, and who's finding the frags? Oh, it's your boy Herds, keeping it up, maintaining the punishment as he cracks open a very tasty counter whoop-ass on the competition. Finally, Novice will fall towards the stairs as his body slides back down. So does the chance of W7M taking this one to a position where they're going to lose. Instead, they get a step closer to taking a draw here. They need to win this final round. They have fought tooth and nail to get back to this position, and now they can end it 6-6. But there's still the chance that if it goes wrong, if it turns sour at the last moment, that is a 7-5 win for Furia. Tim, at this point, it's anyone's game.
Going all the way to 12 once again as we get a nice couple of looks on the replays there of those kills for Herds. That one was an absolute beauty up through the ceiling there, just finding the tough angle onto the smoke and taking Highs off the map. Absolute beauty from him. 6-5 we find ourselves, and W7M, they are fighting their way back into this. Furia had them on the ropes at 6-3, raining body blows in, raining uppercuts, jabs, everything they could throw at them, but they have not been able to put them over the top rope, Jackie. And W7M, they've bounced back. They've got themselves the center of the ring, and they are starting to push Furia around here. And given an opportunity here in round 12, they are to square things away for a draw in Ibiza to get themselves the 2 points on the league table.
Here we go. This is it. This is the big one. This is the most important round that does affect the outcome of everything we've been building up. The past 2 hours of duking between these two sides comes down to this. W7M, can you keep it up on the attack? They've been pretty damn good at getting entry frags. If it's not 1, it's at minimum 2. They've been very, very quick to the draw. And Furia, you have to have an answer for that. You've either got to fight fire with fire, but make it work. You can't go for the sort of half-assed peaks towards the close wall with Fred, where he attempted to make a play, but you're in a position where you're never really going to have a chance to hit that shot. You're always going to be peeked into, and you're going to lose out. They have to switch it up and make more calculated decision-making. If you're not going to go fast and furious, dial it down, play the slow game, force them to use their utility to get any sort of map control and make it awkward. Novice, this time around, a bit of a pixel peek. He does get first contact and readjusts because of it. He should find the frag here if Ash swings in. He had the slight vantage point with the high ground, but it's not going to be over, Anakin. Instead, Herd stays alive, just barely having to put a plaster on to get rid of the damage that was done.
No major problem for me from Novice there. That is perfectly played as a roamer. Your primary function is to waste time. Herds goes in and gets a kill onto Lender, unable to waste anything as he is completely shut down. But on the roam, it is all about wasting as much time as possible. If you can get kills along the way, fantastic. But Novice recognises that, puts shots onto the Ash and then dips away. But unfortunately, doesn't manage to get the kill. Lives to fight another day though, and is still out there on the Mozzie to make a nuisance of himself. Padrin taking big damage there, and you can see the IQ of Freeze out here just underneath, looking to clear out any utility above, but the defense is holding fast at the minute. But right now, W7M have got themselves the advantage that they need. They could do with another kill onto the roamer upstairs. I think Novice on the Mozzie is still active. I'm not sure if he's in kitchen or if he's upstairs at the minute. He's actually in kitchen. He's looking for the jump out here, and he's just looking to make himself as much of a nuisance as he can do. 1 minute left on the clock will decide the fate of W7M.
Next frag counts for so much, and Herds is going to be the one to pick it up as he attacks onto Fred, shutting him down. Diffuser goes down as well, and would you look at that, in the blink of an eye, it's over. A flawless round from W7M. They mount the comeback, they pull it off, and they find victory in the end. The draw is achieved. It's a one-map win, one-map draw in the series. W7M will be proud of the play today.
Fantastic fight back there, showing great resilience, coming back from 6-3 down. I think that is the matchup that we expected, more so than the bit of a run over that we had on Oregon, but very entertaining top to